Hi. I'm still in the process of processing the vast energies that came into sessions this week. Not sure what I'm going to call this, but the inclination is to say, keep dancing, keep dancing. I'm going to read an essence that I usually read at the end because I want to give a context before starting, and the Australian bush essence flower called Gamea lily will have a context that you may hear as you listen to some of the sessions that have come up this weekend or week. So the negative conditions of Gamea lily are arrogant, seeking attention, craving status and glamour, dominating and overriding personality, and the positive outcome is humility, allowing others to express themselves and contribute. Awareness, appreciation, and taking notice of others. Also known as the giant lily, this extraordinary plant bears large red flowers on a huge terminal head atop a stem of up to 7 meters high. Being so high, the flowers are not seen clearly from the ground. This remedy is for excessive pride and arrogance and helps bring about humility. The essence is for reaching up to the energy of arrogance and transforming it to achieve great heights. It gives strength to those who are ahead of their peers and helps them to stay at the top. Gamea lily is also very beneficial for people whose personalities are very intense or extrovert, or those who are dominating, demanding, and very charismatic, who usually get their way. It is also for people who like to be seen and noticed, and who seek glamour and status. Now, the elements of that showed up in the striving for the best. But what also showed up is when we have a particular view and we want particularly our partners to have that view because we feel our view is the best and it needs to be seen, when in fact we love those people who we're speaking this way to. And all it does is push people away because it feels like you're coming towards them with a hot poker and they just don't want to have a hot poker poked at them. A flavour of that came through this week, but mostly when the mental and the spiritual combine, and they're such wonderful flowers up at the top of this plant, these amazing lilies. And the symptoms in the body were really severe. Chronic diarrhea, legs that to mid-calf were like stone and purple. There was no give in touching them. So the spirit can be so far ahead and so excited, and the energies wanted to go further into the spirit, but it lifted out and not in connection with mind, body, spirit, financial, sexual, whatever it is. All of them need a voice and a hearing, and the humility to be able to hear what it has to say, and to be humbled by the pain in the body that's been caused through through neglect, because the higher energies were so enticing and wanting more of that. The two cards that have been were pulled out this weekend, at the beginning of the weekend, are doing and rhythm. Because we forget the doing of the body and the rhythm of the body. Rudolf Steiner said, rhythm is health. Rhythm in moving the body, rhythm in breathing, rhythm in eating, rhythm in sleeping. These energies allow actually more to be calm, and in being calm, more can come in. Even when we are calm and we've made decisions, sometimes we enter into second guessing. Like we've made a decision and then we start second guessing, which completely undermines the stability of the decision in the first place. And the body again falls into a pattern of not being clear, not feeling stable, and of course it'll show up in the body. One being that I saw, oh my God, the work, the intensity, the power, the service to people. And, you know, it's not easy to sometimes see these patterns, which is why people do come for sessions, because at some point you get to a place where it's explored so much that it just has no idea anymore. And what was the case with this being was very much in way back past lives, and for some reason this is showing up more and more. It's almost like the deeper we go, the more it needs to clear some of that stuff, so we're freed up to move into self, which then moves in and hopefully dances. What showed up in this being, in this distant parallel past, whatever, was being a monk. You know those monks who did the transcripts of those beautiful documents with these colourful first letters, and then this most magnificent writing, transcribing over and over again and creating these magnificent libraries. And this was done over several lifetimes, and in having done it over several lifetimes, did create in this lifetime still a rhythm and a pattern and a devotion and a showing up and a doing and an intensity and an overcoming with a discipline. It was all of that was present. But what showed up that needed to really open the gateways for self was having done that for so many lifetimes in that discipline, and those patterns and rhythms still being in place. That pattern was living in spirit. But if you think about it, it's a mental activity. It comes from spirit, but it is a mental activity. So what had happened, this mental activity had locked into spirit and had kept the wheels spinning in attempting to be the best, but in doing so, the busyness stopped one from being. Just being. So in finding it was transposed and then bringing it in its proper position of mind, because as we've evolved from those times, at the time it was highly spiritual action, and it still would be that discipline is spiritual action, but it's mind. And how do we get to that place where it goes still and only then do we appear? And again, as the Gamia lily showed, this striving, this being extraordinary, this being the lily at the very top. And how do we then deal with it when it, for all visual purposes, it feels extraordinary? And the desire was to dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And that actually also showed up in another being that came, where they ultimately dig so deep that you end up opening doors that lead to pathways that aren't necessarily necessary in your life. But in opening those doors and exploring it, you can get lost in the labyrinth of it may only be a crack, but if you go through that crack and you go through that door and explore, what happened in this case, although there was a completion in the journey that had presented itself, by going through the door, which ended up looking at, can others see this? Do others actually get what this is? You are then actually doing others. And we can't make others digest emotionally, physically, spiritually, nutrition, whatever it is. That is the work of each being, to work with their digestion and at the end utilizing what is digested. But to go through a door and to look how others do not see it and how horrific it is, yet others do not see it, the pain in there and the mental anguish is such that, again, patterns that are very disturbing show up in the body, because that is their door. And that door, they will come to that door when it's time to come to that door. It's all perfect. What was really lovely, that the partner that came with this being was furious, wanted punishment for the people who had ignored this, who may have known this, who may have seen it, or those that got away with it, and all of that. And of course, like I mentioned initially, these people who, with their partners, they want them to hear something, they want them to see something. When we care for someone and we say, this is terrible, it's horrible, we've got to do something about this, there's got to be some repercussions, that again also is not helpful for the person who went through that in the first place, because again it feels like a hot poker when it was really hot to begin with. And it was just so delightful, because really all the partner wanted to do was to let them know, I am with you, I am with you. And then to simply be able to find that piece, that's actually what the communication is about. To then go to the partner and say, I am with you. Sometimes people who want to help and show their disgust and horror and want to be there in all of that, and that doesn't help the journey to peace. There were also some energies that when we lose the ultimate focus, there is an ultimate focus. And, you know, it can almost be best described as being on a surfboard and riding the wave, where we're so in the moment of now, and the exhilaration of the experience that appears in the moment. And to be able to notice when we fall off that board. And the body will speak to us, because all it wants to do is get back on that board and ride that ride. And the mind, if it distorts or if patterns have distorted it, the getting back on the board is not always that easy. And the only pathway is to really be in the present. And it really ended with people who've gone through completion and have fallen off the board and then don't know how to get back to that. We can focus on the disappointments, we can focus on the losses, but ultimately the way back is to feel the joy of getting back on the board and focusing on that movement, going towards the dance of getting back on the board, and to see that that really is what you want, and not focus on the losses, the upsets, the work we're doing we don't want to do because we loved what we did before earlier, to sort of work out, how do I get back on the board of what I loved earlier? To be in the flow, which is the dance, was underlying the sessions this week. So the cards were doing and rhythm. Doing. This means action. There is positive energy around make use of it. And in the case of the mind and the spirit, the doing is to include the body, to do and nourish and bring to the body the movement, whatever it needs, to bring that into it as part of the doing. Or to silence the mind so the being can come through in the flow. So it's fitting. This is not the time to ask others for assistance. It is time to do something powerfully for yourself. Look at what you've been doing. Is it working for you? If there is something you have put off, do it now. The next card was rhythm, and of course once you do that, it's about establishing that rhythm, whether it's nutrition, exercise, meditation, yoga, Pilates, which I'm really enjoying at the moment, and having a rhythm around it. Now is the time to celebrate. Feel your heartbeat and the rhythm of life in movement and flow. Everything has cycles and rhythms. Feel and know you're part of this rhythm through the core of your being. Get in touch with your inner self. Do not let disharmony interrupt your rhythm and flow, but dance and sing your song with joy, and others will be infected with the delight of it. Much love.